entertainmentbuilder.com.
Everyone, it is Matt and Nick, and we are back with a new episode of the Star Wars Time Show. How's it going? Hopefully the Force has been with you since the last time we chatted. I know, we don't really chat to you, but we do. We do it through the Force. We're tingling your midichlorians because that's what Nick and I like to do on the Star Wars Time Show. So tonight, we're going to talk about a few things, mostly Han Solo movie inspired, but we got some other things we've dug up since the last time we chatted. So, we're going to do our thing. We're going to talk about what we know, and we're going to talk about what we don't know, and we'll probably go on tangents that make no sense and get boring. But you never know. That's how we do the Star Wars Time Show. So, Nick, how's it going, buddy? And are you ready to talk a little Han Solo?
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like we took a pretty big punch to Han Solo in the last cast that we did. Obviously, that was when we learned about all the fucking craziness with the directors leaving, with there being some problems with the acting performance from Alden Ehrenreich. But now we have some things coming out. Ron Howard is in the swing of things. He's releasing some screenshots, some set photos. We have maybe have a tease of something related to Han Solo as well. So things are starting to turn around a bit. I think Ron realizes, like, okay, there was some negative things out there in the press. We need to put some stuff out there for the people and for the media to kind of calm down a little bit. So it looks like he's doing a good job. He's jumping in. He's ready to get things going. And, hopefully he can right the ship. And then the Falcon will be on course for a light speed jump.
All right, well, since you kind of kicked off with Ron's involvement and how, he's kind of taking the reins and taking over, let's go ahead and start with the news bit we have about Ron Howard. And that's, first off, within 2 or 3 weeks of taking over the Han Solo movie, he's already shared more than the other two guys, which to this day, Nick, I'm still going, how the fuck do you walk away from Star Wars? I still don't get it. I even brought it up on our Game of Thrones cast, Thrones Time. It's just like, man, are these guys just true artists, or are they just fucking assholes?
Yeah, dude, it is a question that's going to probably sit with them for a long time, too. Can you imagine, like, when this movie comes out, it drops and makes $1 billion, and then people are just, like, loving it? These two guys have to sit there and be like, we probably fucked up. And that's all they would
you're
have
right,
to say.
because, I mean, if it comes out and it's like, bam, this is awesome, another standalone success, whatever argument they may or may not have had over this and why they ended up leaving is going to be moot at that point. It's going to be like, well, you guys are stupid.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
By the way, it's 90% plus fresh, and it's going to make a bill within 2 months.
Yeah, so they can keep their creative vision and all that kind of stuff if that's what's really important to them. But, sometimes you have to make compromises when you're a filmmaker.
You never know. I mean, you never know if it was Disney that didn't budge or if it was these guys. But I have a feeling it was probably these guys.
Yeah, and honestly, dude, Disney doesn't have to budge. Disney has now proven with the past 2 Star Wars movies that, hey, look, we have the formula for success. We know what we need to do. We know how to make Star Wars. We know how to make Star Wars successful and good. So instead of you guys just, doing whatever you want to do with it, how about you listen to us? We have a script. We have a team. And we know how to make $1 billion. So let us help you be $1 billion filmmakers. And they just didn't want to do that.
If I was Kasdan, I'd be like, need I remind you that I fucking basically wrote and directed Empire Strikes Back?
I mean, along with, Irvin Kershner, obviously, great director for Episode 5. But yeah, Larry Kasdan, I mean, that dude has been on the a Star Wars writer since, Star Wars released. And I mean, obviously, we've seen his work with the story of Episode 5 and his directorial work and writing work on Episode 6. I mean, the man is a Star Wars legend. If they ever have a Star Wars Hall of Fame, which they probably should, at some point Disney will probably do something like that. He should be one of the first inductees right next to George Lucas. Like,
right? No, he's definitely out there. I'm glad you corrected me. It wasn't Empire. It was Jedi, right? That he took over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's a figurehead on Star Wars Mount Rushmore.
Indeed, he is. But anyway.
Yeah, so let's get back to Ron and the Han Solo movie, and kind of back to my point that he's being a little more open with the set. Definitely not on par with, say, a James Gunn, who really didn't share a lot of set pics. But the dude, every Wednesday of every week they shot Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, he shared here's the scene we shot this week, the storyboard. And I thought that it was fun. It was just a fun way to interact with the director and the shoot. And if you're into filmmaking, just kind of seeing when you watch the movie where the process came from. We're not talking that level, but he's putting out some good teasers, isn't he, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have this one thing that he put out on his Twitter, which was like a behind-the-scenes kind of wardrobe shot. It's just, you don't see a character. You don't even see the set in which, this is, these costumes are going to be used. You just see these costumes. And like you brought up in your post, it's very colorful. Something unlike we've seen in most recent Star Wars movies, especially Rogue One, like you said.
Yeah,
Rogue One
it's
was
almost
very drab.
like Phantom Menace color tones.
Yeah, I mean, you have like yellow and red, orange, blues, like very bright, very vibrant colors. And, Ron posed the question, can you guess whose closet this is? And obviously we're sitting here like, man, it can't be Han's, because Han is a leather vest, gray shirt kind of guy, so he's probably not wearing this. Probably, it could be Lando. Lando wore a flashy blue cape.
He did have that baby blue cape, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So this could be some Lando gear. It could also be, maybe Emilia Clarke's character, maybe Woody Harrelson's character. Who knows?
Who is the one you brought up before? Because I think that's who it is. I think you might have nailed it.
I think the only person that we haven't seen anything from that has been announced for this movie, at least, is Thandie Newton.
Do they look small enough, though, I guess? Because she's kind of a tiny lady. We saw a lot of her in Westworld this, last summer or whatever, last fall.
Yeah, we saw as much of her as you can see on television.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I don't know. It's so hard to gauge the size of the
because of the angle
costumes.
It's at.
Yeah. It could definitely be for her character, though. That's another person that's kind of fallen to the wayside when you talk about the cast of Han Solo, because you have huge names like Woody Harrelson, Emilia Clarke, Donald Glover. Thandie Newton is an excellent actress that wasn't even in the collaborative, like that iconic, well, it's not really iconic, but the one photo of like all of the main players kind of sitting together on the bridge of the Falcon. She's not on that.
Right.
So this could be something for her, but who knows? We really don't have any insight into her character yet. But could be Lando, could be Thandie Newton's character, could be, who knows? Maybe Han Solo goes through a disco phase and he's like wearing all this crazy
disco
shit.
Disco Solo.
Could be, man. But
Mos Eisley 54.
That would be.
If you people have seen it, it's out there. Just check out Ron Howard's Twitter, or maybe if I feel like it when I punch up these casts on YouTube or in the post itself, maybe I'll throw the image in there so you can look. You never know. Sometimes I forget, sometimes I don't. But the story here is that Ron Howard is being a little more flirtatious, if you will, with the Star Wars fan base, which I kind of like. I don't want any spoilers, but I do like these just random teases. I think they're kind of fun.
Yeah, it's really cool to see these kind of things. It's similar to what Rian Johnson did when he was filming Episode 8. We had little drops here and there, especially the Luke's, the Jedi robe that was clearly, put up against a rock wall background that we would assume was on the planet Acto during filming. So that was a cool little thing that was dropped in there by Rian Johnson, and among other small, inconspicuous set photos that we really didn't get any information from. But then even like moving on from this, we got to see a little bit more of the Han Solo set and characters. from some, exclusive set pics that looks like was picked up by TMZ. In these pictures, you can clearly see Han, Chewie, and what looks like it's Woody Harrelson's character, and then a female character right next to them. Me and Matt both think that could be Emilia Clarke's character.
Yeah,
Definitely
I mean,
looks
I'm
like her.
zoomed in right now, and I don't know. I mean, maybe height-wise, she's might be too tall for Emilia. I don't know how tall Woody and Alden are in real life, so I can't really scale it, but I do think it is her if we're just going off of the profile and hair color.
Yeah, that was my thoughts too. The hair color is definitely Emilia Clarke's, color, and then
if you don't know who that is, people, that's
like
Dany from Game of Thrones, because I know some of you only know her as the Khaleesi.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's been in other things, but she's definitely best known as Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones.
All right,
drop.
So
check out the Game of Thrones cast on Entertainment Buddha Network.
As we're discussing these set picks here, let's kind of zero in on the first one. And again, if I remember, I'll try to get these onto the cast somehow so you know what we're talking about. But I think the first interesting thing I noticed is that Woody's character is wearing the same type of holster. It may even be Han's holster that we've seen Han wear, with the leg straps and everything.
Yeah, low slung kind of.
Yeah, like it's player style.
Yeah, I mean, we have been led to believe that Woody Harrelson's character is going to be some sort of early life or
they're criminals. I mean, he's a
mentor.
criminal. They're not good guys. I mean, they're not bad guys. They're in the gray. They're Han guys.
Yeah, exactly. So they're dealing with some shady stuff every now and then. They need to be strapped. Obviously, we've seen Han Solo getting a lot of different tussles here and there, whether it be in the newer movie and in Force Awakens, or even in the original trilogy, he's always getting in some kind of trouble. So having a gun at his side is always a good thing. And if he's learning from Woody Harrelson's character in this film, he's probably, Woody Harrelson's character is also probably packing heat along with him wherever he goes. Makes sense. And it actually gives some interesting context to the rest of the photos in this small video that's shown at the bottom. I mean, you have Woody Harrelson's character, you have Han Solo there, and they're standing in what looks like to be some sort of either museum, or is it it could be like a viewing room of some sort.
I kind of compared it to, on a smaller scale, it looks like the collector's room from Guardians. Because there's a fucking Ewok, right?
Yeah. They're in one of the cases, I don't know if it's a stuffed, if it's a dead Ewok that's been stuffed, that's in this facility wherever they are, or what it is. But there's definitely some sort of Ewok character.
Fucking Ewok.
There's
it looks like some sort of globes or 3D models of maps are out there. Yeah. There's this blue head looking thing.
Yeah.
And apparently this is still from the pre-Ron Howard days. So this is under Miller and Lord as far as the scene goes. The other thing about Woody, Nick, you notice dude's got some hair, so obviously Woody's going to be sporting a wig.
Yeah.
Is he whipping a mustache too?
It's
or is that just shadowing?
It's hard to tell. It looks like it could be shadowing, but it is. It's tough to tell from this, from these photos. They're very grainy. Obviously, this isn't high definition pictures we're seeing here. You can see a boom mic, like a guy holding a boom mic.
Oh yeah, this is
off to the side.
Whoever took these was someone that was deeply involved in the picture.
Oh yeah,
and they're just being fucking dicks, because I guarantee that they either lost their jobs or they have completely voided any agreement they signed to be on set.
Yeah, I mean, NDAs were definitely signed by everybody working on this movie.
Done.
So
yeah, like Nick said, I mean, they're literally right next to the dude fucking holding out the camera and boom mic.
Yeah, so this is not high quality. I can't really think. I mean, that would be funny if he was sporting a mustache, though. Just seeing Woody with a wig and a mustache would be pretty hilarious. But, yeah, I mean, this set photo is pretty interesting. Do you think that they could be on a job here? I mean, obviously.
Yeah, totally. I think that maybe they're getting hired to do something, or maybe they're coming in to try to get work.
Yeah.
You can see Han's wearing kind of this brown leather coat, some tight, like, skinny jean type of pants.
Yeah, not the typical Han Solo vest that we've seen
he
in the
does
past.
look younger, but I still am going to go back to my initial bitching about this. What do we say? This is going to be 10 years before New Hope?
Probably. If we're gonna go with the notion that he's gonna like this is the start of his smuggling career, it's probably 10 years is a safe estimate.
I still hope they make it earlier because, I mean, and again, we're looking at shit. I mean, it's basically like barf on a screen, but you can make out some details, and it doesn't look like Han Solo at all.
Yeah, I mean, we figure if we go back 10 years, Han was in his early 30s when Episode 4 was filming. I mean, like, the character Han was supposed to be in his early 30s from my understanding. So if we go back 10 years from there, this dude's probably early 20s, early mid-20s. Can't really tell too much from the I mean, like, you're really just getting a profile shot of Han. The other shot is literally like he's in motion, so his face is completely blurred. You can't see anything. All that you can really tell is, like Matt said, he's wearing some skinny-looking jeans, got a brown coat on, maybe a black hood, like a black hood to the coat kind of hanging over his shoulders, or that could be a shadowing, who knows. But it's cool to see that, you know, this kind of set photo and, like, you know, the types of locations that we could be looking at for this film. It's interesting to note that this was from, like you said, this was from Phil Lord and Chris Miller, so we may not even see this in the final cut, because who knows, Ron Howard may come in and look at this shit and be like, this isn't what I'm going for, so let's get this the fuck out of here.
That's still the interesting thing, and we still have no news that they're going to push back the May 2018 release, so it looks like they're shooting for it.
Yeah, at least they're trying for the time being. Now, you know,
I just want to know if Woody has a goddamn mustache.
That too.
Because I think it'd be sweet if he did. It's the middle picture. Like, if we're looking at the TMZ post, you got top picture, you know, Chewie's there, Han. So that's another thing we didn't really mention. I mean, obviously at this point, Chewie and Han have met. But the middle picture, zoomed out especially, I mean, it looks like Beckett, who is Woody's character, is whipping a, you know, kind of a side part hairstyle and a mustache.
Yeah. Dude, now okay, so this is going to be an interesting thing that I'm going to bring up here, because it just kind of flashed into my mind. So looking at that side part, looking at the way that Woody is dressed, I mean, you got all black with, like, what looks like tattered gray. He kind of looks like an Imperial in a little bit of a way. I don't know if he's just reminding me a little bit of, Ben Mendelsohn's character from Rogue One. Yeah, Orson Krennic, but he kind of looks like an Imperial, maybe like a defected Imperial to me.
I mean, who knows? I mean, it looks like a duster. I mean, he looks like a fucking cowboy.
Yeah.
If he had a cowboy hat, I mean, that's what he'd look like.
Yeah, for sure. So, this is, you know, it's cool to see shit like this. Will we see it in the original, you know, in the full film? Maybe. Who knows? D23 is something else that's right around the corner. So, do you think with D23 coming up that we're going to get anything official Han Solo, whether it be set photos, whether it be, you know, maybe, you know, a title reveal or anything like that from D23 for Han Solo?
I think if we get anything, and obviously when you guys are listening to this, D23 will have come and gone, but I feel like, you know, on the Star Wars show this week, or whatever the fuck it's called, on YouTube, it's basically the news show with Andy Gutierrez and some asshole. You know, people, I'm just like, I fucking hate them because I'm not doing it, but whatever. Life is life. They did basically say, without saying, that there's going to be a panel on Saturday of D23 that's going to offer up behind-the-scenes looks at Disney movies. And they're like, there's a great chance that a Star Wars movie will be present. So That's either going to be Episode 8 or Han Solo or both. I think, like you said, it is... we could get maybe a title reveal for Han Solo on top of like a behind-the-scenes sizzle for Last Jedi. I would be happy with that. I'd take that. I mean, a confirmed Solo title. But speaking of that, because we really can't talk much about D23. Hopefully we get some shit to see. Obviously we see it. We're going to come out and cast on that. So that'll be in the next episode if you're listening to this one. So tune in. It'll probably be up. You never know when we're going to get this shit done. We kind of do our thing when we do it. But segueing from the D23 stuff, which hopefully reveals something new for Last Jedi and Han, back to Han Solo, we did get confirmation or a tease of the title. I think we forgot to talk about this one, Nick, off the mic, but Woody on, what was it, the Colbert Show? He was doing his press tour for War of the Planet of the Apes, which is fantastic, by the way. And he was on Colbert this week, and Colbert pressed him on Star Wars, Han Solo in particular. And he wanted to know the name of the title, and it was all based on a shirt Woody was wearing when he was probably stoned on vacation, taking a picture, like a selfie of himself squishing the sun on the horizon, right? So the shirt he was wearing, it basically just had the Star Wars double pipe ellipse wraparound thing, and within the middle of that it said Solo. So Colbert was like, "Yo, dude, Woody, what is it? I mean, is this the name of the movie?" And Woody's like, "Well, I can confirm it's the working title." So it may be or may not be, but we're potentially looking at this movie be calling either Solo: A Star Wars Story or Star Wars Solo: A Star Wars Story.
See, it's so weird because, like, I gotta say that the shirt looks cool because, like you said, it's got the Star Wars. Like, if you remember, kind of the same style of title that Rogue One had, where it's got the Star Wars and then like the rectangle around Rogue One, but like the L in Solo is like Han Solo's signature blaster pistol. Looks really cool. And like there's also some wording right under Solo. If you take a close look at it, it looks like it says like see maybe cast 2017, something like that. So this is probably shirts that went out to everybody that's, you know, in the cast and crew of this film. In terms of what the title could be based off of this, I think that the word Solo definitely has to be in it in some form or fashion, whether it's like Han Solo: A Star Wars Story or if it's just Solo: A Star Wars Story. I feel like it has to be in there because,
oh yeah,
I mean, that's what it is.
They can't just call it like Smuggler's Run or something. I mean, Han's got to be in the title. He's got to be titular, as like we like to say.
Exactly. So it would be weird if they didn't have his name in there in some sort of way. But I mean, title. It's got to be one of those, right? Because we were assuming with the reveal of the Rogue One, a Star Wars Story title, like, okay, well, all standalones are probably going to follow this formula then. So assuming that, it could very well be like Han Solo: A Star Wars Story. As boring as that is, and like as much as it like really doesn't give you in terms of like, you know, further plot points in the movie or anything like that, like that's probably the most likely title.
Yeah, because you get what you get, people.
Yeah, it fits along with what we already know the formula is, and it gives you, you know, exactly what the movie's going to be about. It's about fucking Han Solo, and it's a Star Wars story. So it's a cool little thing. And like you said, Woody looks stoned in this picture.
I know he is. I mean, the guy is one of the biggest proponents in the world. I mean, I love him. He's a fantastic human. And he's good in War for Planet of the Apes. Go see it, people. Watch the review on entertainmentbuddha.com or on youtube.com/entertainmentbuddha. All right, now we threw that little plug in. Let's move on to some Last Jedi stuff, Nick. So we got a few things since the last time we talked. I think, quite frankly, they're both kind of common sense type of shit, but people are out there. They understand the Star Wars phenomena. I mean, the flashback post here has 1,000 shares. The other one had almost 1,000, so obviously people click on this shit. But the first one I want to talk about is, I'm not going to say confirmation, but kind of validation of stuff that Nick and I have talked about in the past about The Last Jedi's narrative and what we might see. And it's the fact that we're probably going to get a good look at Kylo Ren's past via flashbacks that mainly occur during Luke and Rey's training, right? Is that how you read it?
Yeah, so that's what... I mean, this is all coming from, like, you know, a famed... I guess I don't want to say famed, but like Star Wars theorist Mike Zero. This guy is basically, he's like us, except he's more famous. And, you know, he comes up with stuff based off of what would make sense to see in the next movie. I mean, like, that's what he poses, you know. I mean, obviously the guy's got sources and stuff like that, but I mean, being a Star Wars nerd like me and Matt are, he probably has a lot of the same thoughts that we did and that we voiced on this podcast, like we have with this one. So he's saying that more than likely we're going to see some flashbacks of young Ben Solo, and it's going to be, you know, probably between, you know, training sessions with Rey and Luke. So talking about, you know, probably Luke either reminiscing about young Ben Solo or, you know, trying to teach Rey how to not stray like he did.
Yeah, and I think that'd be the kind of the perfect time to show these, you know, and really from Rey's point of view, I think, and maybe even Luke's. I mean, either one would make sense. Where they're, you know, he's kind of training, and it may even be more from Luke's side now that I think about it, where he's training this new powerful Force user, and maybe she struggles or maybe she questions something, and Luke kind of has that flashback to when Kylo was young and did the same thing, because he's also strong in the Force, clearly. I mean, he's got Skywalker blood in him, so, I mean, we know he is primed to be a Force user. We still really don't know where Rey comes from, but we have a good idea that she is just as powerful in the Force, if not more so, than Kylo. And I think Nick would agree she's probably more so, even as raw as she is.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of people like to hate on, you know, the way that Rey kind of displayed her Force powers in Episode 7, because it was just kind of like, okay, she has the Force, she can use it and all this, you know. Everybody's read it, everybody's seen it. But just to see that sort of that immediate burst of power from her once she kind of, you know, when she pulls the lightsaber to her, I mean, you can see her potential. And I mean, her potential is probably as high as anybody that we've seen, any other Force user that we've seen in the Star Wars cinematic universe at the very least. I mean, it took Luke a good while to come to grips with his Force abilities. I mean, just remember when he was, you know, on Hoth, got attacked by the Wampa, he's sitting there upside down. He can barely summon enough Force to pull that lightsaber that's, you know, not even, you know, 2 feet away from him, it seemed like. And then Rey on Starkiller Base is literally pulls the lightsaber away from Kylo as he's trying to pull it at the same time. I mean, this girl has what could be described as unlimited potential to be a massively powerful Force user. And, yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with somebody like that, you have to make sure that they stay on the straight and narrow, I guess, you know, it's the best way to put it, because we've seen what can happen when very powerful Jedi fall to the dark side. Obviously, with Anakin Skywalker going, you know, falling and turning into Darth Vader, and then fucking just wreaking havoc across the galaxy. Same thing that's now happening with Kylo Ren. Ben Solo falls, becomes a dark side Force user under the tutelage of Snoke, and is just, you know, causing a lot of mayhem. So Luke needs to make sure that Rey does not, you know, fall to that same fate.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, I don't think this is breaking news. I mean, clearly we need to learn more about the character of Kylo Ren, and I think doing the forcebacks, flashbacks, whatever you want to call it, is the best delivery method to show that. But, you know, both hopefully through Luke's eyes and maybe even Rey's, just to understand the struggle Kylo faced or Ben at that point as a Skywalker Solo, and apparently he thought his dad was a piece of shit, and who knows what Leia was doing. She was probably worried about getting the the Resistance up and running. So yeah, he may have felt like an abandoned, lonely kid. You never know. So maybe we'll see some of that. As Nick and I were talking, I think kind of off air, it would be interesting to find out if we are going to get a young Ben Solo and who that actor is, because right now this kid is probably he essentially has the nuclear football attached to him in the Star Wars universe, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's the center. I mean, like, as much as Rey is an important character, a very important character in this new trilogy of films, I mean, Kylo is a massively important character. I mean, like, he's holding the key. I mean, like, one shift in thought process from him can spell the end of the First Order, essentially. I mean, like, their real dominance in the universe is pretty much led by him and his Knights of Ren, which we are yet to see on
Oh yeah, that was the other thing, that this thing it also mentions that we are going to get to see more of the Knights of Ren and how that came to be and his involvement and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so obviously the First Order has a massive army behind it. We've seen Starkiller Base. We've seen, some of the fleets, fleet ships that they have and stuff like that. But I mean, it's basically being run by Snoke as the figurehead, the Dark Force user figurehead, and then Kylo as the intimidation force with his Knights of Ren at his side. So I mean, if Kylo decides like, hey, this is not the right thing to do, then the First Order is sure to crumble beside that decision. And then also what...
Go ahead. Go.
No, I was just going to say, like, also what I wanted to bring up is, like, if people think back to when production of Episode 8 first started, there were rumors, I don't know if any of them were confirmed, but there were rumors that Harrison Ford was seen at least at the London Pinewood Studios set, possibly doing filming for Episode 8. Now, that's where the initial kind of, theories came about, like, okay, so this is probably going to be flashbacks to young Ben Solo. We're going to see him and Han interacting, maybe what caused some strife within their father-son relationship. Maybe we see the ultimate split between them. Like, this is when Kylo finally said, like, you're not my father anymore. Because, as we all remember, when Kylo and Han are standing on that bridge, he doesn't refer to him as his father. He calls him Han Solo. He doesn't say dad. He says Han Solo. So there's a lot of interesting moments that can be had between those two characters. And if Harrison Ford does make an appearance in a flashback in this film, I think it could really help to flesh out the character of Kylo Ren.
Yeah, which is going to be huge because he's clearly a major player in the new trilogy and someone that's going to have an impact on how everything turns out. And what we already know is going to be an emotional ending to Star Wars Episode 9, like that wasn't already obvious, but we've talked about in the prior cast.
Yeah.
So, sticking with The Last Jedi, we have more common sense news for you, but enough for someone to post it. And it's the fact that, again, back to D23, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher posthumously, I mean, obviously not Mark, but they were inducted into the Disney Legends Hall of Fame today. And Bob Iger, who runs Disney, obviously has control of the Marvel movies, Star Wars. I mean, he's God, really, in terms of those franchises. He went on the record to basically say that this is Hamill's best performance of Luke Skywalker to date. Boom. It's like, okay, well, yeah, no shit. But it does kind of reinforce the fact that we've been hearing that Luke's going to be a prominent player in 8.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is, I don't know, it's just it's such a weird thing, like you said, that an article was written about this. It's like, what is Bob Iger going to do as the CEO of Disney? Come out and say, like, yeah, Mark Hamill did okay, I guess. Like, he's not going to say that the performance was anything less than stellar. So this isn't a surprise. I mean, is this like a pseudo way of saying that, like, Luke Skywalker is going to have a huge role in this movie? Maybe, but it's really odd. I think that everybody expected Mark Hamill to really nail this. The dude is a professional, and it's not like he's been sitting on the sidelines doing nothing since, episode 6 wrapped up. So, I mean, he's been working, he's been out there. Just watch, some of the DC superhero shows on the CW, and you'll see Mark Hamill's handiwork as I can't remember the guy's name on the character he played on The Flash.
Trickster.
I mean, he's done Trickster, yeah. So he's Trickster in that, and then obviously he's got his famous voice acting work as the Joker for a lot of these animated movies and stuff like that. So I mean, Mark Hamill's a professional. Dude's going to come in and kill it. We all expected that for sure. But there was also a touching little tribute for Carrie Fisher, her being posthumously inducted as a legend, and the the quote that Mark had. I mean, like, just every time he talks about Carrie Fisher, you can see what their relationship was like, and it's wonderful to see that he still has that love and that relationship bond with her, even though she's passed away. He said that I know if Carrie was here this morning, she would have flipped me the bird twice already. I loved her and we were like siblings. We would fight, but we loved each other. So it's a great, touching, quote from him. And that's just, I mean, that's like essential Carrie Fisher. Like she would have flipped him off twice already during their Disney Legends induction ceremony. So that's a perfect little thing for him to say.
So, I don't know. I think that kind of takes us to the end of what we had to talk about this week, right? I mean, unless you got something tucked away in your Force memory that I don't know about.
Not in terms of like news or anything like that. The only thing that kind of popped into my head again when we're talking about Kylo Ren is just like an interesting little parallel between. I mean, like obviously Kylo Ren and Anakin Skywalker. Those are the two characters that we're paralleling. But just looking at what the situation was prior to their fall compared to the parallel between Rey and Luke Skywalker. So if you look at Kylo and Anakin, they both fell in a period in the galaxy where there was relative peace. So like if you remember, I mean peace in a way, like there were no outward facing Sith other than like Count Dooku in the prequel trilogy. So, like, Anakin was, obviously there was the war going on, but there was no, like, serious Dark Force presence that was out there and that was, pushing against the galaxy as a whole. And then if you look at Kylo Ren, it's like the same situation. There was no, other than Snoke being out there, and we know that that Leia and Han already knew that Snoke was influencing him in some way just based off of Carrie Fisher's line to Han in episode 7, like there was no massive Dark Force power out there in the universe to to influence him in any other way. So like that was an interesting parallel between their falls, and then like when Rey and Luke were around, there was this clear evil force in the galaxy that needed a hero to step up, and both of them kind of answered that call in their own way to kind of, reluctant at first, obviously, with Luke's, I can't go, I have to, whatever, you got a moisture farm here. And then Rey not wanting to leave the comfort of Jakku, waiting for whoever had left her there. Maybe we find out that in episode 8 or 9. We'll see. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing, is like the situations of their falls, and then the people who are opposing them and how they came up in a period of pretty much like, galaxy-wide oppression.
Well, cool. I mean, this galaxy far, far away, buddy, has never been a happy place. I mean, we know for millennia it's been fucked up, really, based on stuff we know. I mean, if we just want to talk canon, I think all we can talk about is from prequels up until what we know through episode 7, but even then, there's always been kind of some dissent, some shady shit going on, so it's not a happy place to be.
No, absolutely not. I mean, even if you want to go back to the old Republic, not canon anymore days, I mean, the days of full-out war between Jedi and Sith, armies of Jedi and Sith just clashing and fighting against each other on battlefields. I mean, when you have a galaxy that is essentially run or, you know, the fate of the galaxy is being held in the hands of those with power, with those with powers, force powers, very literally, you know, there's going to be strife, there's going to be conflict, and there's going to be a lot of bloodshed. So, and that's what we've seen throughout Star Wars, you know, canon now, and it's, you know, it continues to keep storylines very interesting, even in movies that don't, you know, that don't include the Force users, like Rogue One. I mean, we know that Rogue One was held during the period of the rebellion against the Empire, but still, like, there were no Force users in that movie, and we got to see, like, not only do, you know, the Jedi and the Sith have their roles to play in this, but everybody down to the, you know, the lowest man on the totem pole in the rebellion has a part to play in the conflict to, you know, bring some sort of peace to the galaxy. So, very cool shit. That's why me and Matt love the Star Wars universe, love this kind of storytelling, because there's always some cool shit that can happen no matter what.
Yeah, it's great lore, great storytelling outside of some execution problems with the period of episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
Major execution problems. Major story problems too, but other than that, we're good. We're good to go. Yeah. I mean, everything that canon now is the whoop. I mean, the Darth Vader comic I'm hearing is just unbelievable after it picked up a new run. You know, Nick did a less than 12 parsecs episode on why Sith lightsabers are red, and we learned that from the comic. And the one that released this week, so, you know, it showed the first battle of Vader versus a Jedi after Anakin became Vader. So that's another huge moment. So there's a lot of good stuff going on in Star Wars land right now. One of those being Star Wars Forces of Destiny. I don't know if you've caught those. If you follow the website, entertainmentboo.com, you've definitely seen them because I posted every episode. But this is a new web series. They're kind of mini episodes, 2-3 minutes tops. They dumped out over the last week. I think there's 8 or 9 total, but they're pretty well done little segments. And the key here is they're all about really the female leads from Star Wars. So the episodes will either star Leia or Padme, Ahsoka, Jyn, Rey, and they tell moments kind of in between the movies. So they're actually filling in some gaps of lore, or, and some people want to call them plot holes. I think that's reaching a bit, but it just kind of extends the storytelling for each one of those established movies. So they're pretty fun. You can find them out there on the Disney Channel. Obviously, they're going to be on entertainmentboo.com too. Just search Star Wars Forces of Destiny, and you'll get it. There will be a toy line, obviously, coming out too. It's kind of Barbie-ish because it is geared towards girls, and that's fantastic. Especially if you have a little girl, because you need them to feel special, powerful, and that the Force can be with them also. All right, buddy, I think we've hit it all. Obviously, my friends, we're probably going to have an impromptu cast next week to cover what is revealed at D23, which, as we're recording this now, is going to take place in less than 24 hours. We'll definitely have something Star Wars to talk about. So we'll be coming at you earlier than usual with a prime time, hopefully The Last Jedi, hopefully the Han Solo cast to talk about what was revealed at D23 coming up after you listen to this episode. So, as always, we appreciate you. Anything to close out on, my friend?
I think we hit it. I think we can also say, get ready for another less than 12 parsecs. Me and Matt have an idea for one. We're going to try to kick it out this weekend. So keep an eye out for that. Another little piece of Star Wars knowledge for you to just put right in your head, remember it, and keep that Force flowing.
Yeah, we want you to be learned in the Force. That's why we're here. That's why we do what we do. That's why we give up our precious time to talk all things a galaxy far, far away. All right, people. Again, we appreciate you. You know what to do, and that is to stay tuned to entertainmentboo.com to make yourself a better geek one post at a time. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Android, Google Play. It's all over the place. Our Star Wars Time show, it's on YouTube too, youtube.com/entertainmentbuddha. We are everywhere. We are the Force. And, as always, may the Force be with you. We're out.